Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm rising to pursue a question. It's some time back, but it's still very relevant. I asked this question in question period on May 17th, and it related to a report that had just been released that the federal government was encouraging leases in the Beaufort Sea and other areas of our Arctic, at the same time that the National Energy Board had come up with a way to reduce what are fairly onerous requirements on oil companies that wish to drill in the Arctic. The National Energy Board had relaxed the requirements for the proof of being able to drill a same-season relief well. I think a lot of Canadians didn't know what a relief well was until we watched the failure of one in the Gulf of Mexico with the BP Horizon disaster. We certainly saw there why you need to be able to get in. If you have a blowout at depths in the ocean, you need to have a way to stop that blowout, and a relief well is required. And in the case of the Arctic, much more difficult climatic conditions, and at a time of year where, goodness, if it occurred in winter months when you have ice cover and you have no daylight, the chances of being able to get in a same-season relief well are critical, because you have to be sure you get the relief well in before those winter conditions become a significant obstacle, if not and basically creating an impossibility as an obstacle to stopping a blowout. Well, I raised that question May 17th. How would we eliminate the risks of blowouts during drilling, exploration, and development in our most fragile ecosystem in the Arctic? Since that time, Mr. Speaker, when I first raised this issue, in September, the French multinational giant Total SA has aborted its efforts to pursue oil drilling in the Arctic. The CEO of Total, Christophe de Margerie, told the Financial Times that there was simply too large a risk. In fact, from his point of view, the financial risk to his company of attempting to drill in the Arctic would outweigh any benefit. As he put it, quote, oil in Greenland would be a disaster. A leak there would do too much damage to the image of our company, unquote. So we have a situation where at least one large oil company decided it wasn't worth the risk. A second large oil company, also in September, Royal Dutch Shell, after spending almost $5 billion in efforts to get at oil offshore Alaska in the Arctic, abandoned those attempts after repeated failures. But here we have a situation, Mr. Speaker, where Canada is about to take the chair, which is a huge opportunity for this nation, and the Minister of Health herself, I won't use her name, but of course we know the Minister of Health is a member of the Inuit nation. She will be chairing the Arctic Council table. This is a time for Canada to show leadership, to say that we will not subsidize oil and gas. We will not promote oil and gas in the Arctic. We will insist on same-season relief wells, not allow relaxation of standards, and we will adopt a precautionary principle in concert with the other circumpolar nations who sit at the Arctic Council table. It's critical that we protect our Arctic. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I am pleased to answer the question of the member for Saanich Gulf Islands. Our government is determined to protect the future of our country by supporting a strong North. The North is a priority for our government, and we are moving to ensure the delivery of the Northern strategy and bringing improvements the programs and initiatives because they benefit all Canadians. The North harbors immense potential in terms of resources, which represents a fabulous economic possibility. Our government continues to encourage investments in northern communities while ensuring that these investments are supported by a proper environmental protection and safety system that is world-class. With an eye to future investments in the North, the National Energy Board began a public review of the requirements relating to environment and safety regarding offshore drilling activities in the Arctic. The definitive report of the public review was tabled on December 15, 2011, and it confirmed that the regulatory regime in terms of offshore drilling in the Arctic is one of the safest and strictest in the world. The insistence on this conclusion of the report includes a series of new requirements for environmental protection and safety that are applicable to offshore drilling in the Arctic. These new requirements were established based on comments that were heard during the public review. These new requirements will improve the already strict review process that the National Energy Board undertakes before authorizing any oil and gas activities in the north. The awarding of mining rights in this area is important to stimulate investments in the north, Mr. Speaker, in collaboration with the Northern and Aboriginal governments and with the residents of the area. In Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development grants rights to potential developers. The awarding of rights is a transparent process in the north, and like elsewhere in Canada, it is based on market imperatives. The exploration permits granted give developers the exclusive rights to do prospecting and to do drilling in order to find natural gas and oil. Currently, there is no drilling done in the Arctic Sea. All the activities proposed that are associated with exploration permits need authorization by the National Energy Board. These require public consultations, and in addition, before a drilling program can be authorized, the applicants must
capacity and the severe limitations of current response methods in ice-covered waters. The same report identified a so-called response gap whereby, due to the Arctic's remoteness and extreme weather, there is also a high percentage of time when no response, however ineffective, could even be attempted. Mr. Speaker, we need to have a precautionary approach. We need to develop a strategy for the prevention of oil spills, and I assert again that Canada should use its leadership as chairing the Arctic Council to pursue a matter for an oil spill prevention strategy for the Arctic and not be complacent.
Parliamentary Secretary.
Merci, Monsieur Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said earlier, our government fully recognizes the importance of economic growth and environmental protection. Canada has passed legislation and solid environmental regulations, a tough regulatory regime, and experienced people to look over offshore activities. The Energy Office is a regulatory body, international caliber. Our government is convinced that our agency has the adequate tools to look over in oil and gas operations in Canada's north. Our government is determined to bring forth the energy profile of the north to benefit all Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.